The Bible Online Learner allows you to create specific exercises that cover the needs for your Hebrew, Greek, Aramaic, and even Latin courses. In order to create an exercise, you go to Administration. Under Administration, you choose Manage Exercises. Here you choose the folder in which you want to place the exercises that you create. In our case, let's choose the Hebrew 2 course folder that I'm using for my Hebrew 2 courses. Now you go to the bottom of the page. At the bottom of the page you have a couple of options, for example, Create Exercise. So we click on the button Create Exercise. Now we select the database that we want to use for our exercises. Since this is a Hebrew exercise, we will choose the Hebrew database. If you were to create a Greek exercise, you would choose the Nestler database. If you were to use the Vulgate for Latin exercise, you will choose obviously Jerome's Vulgate. Let's go back here to our Hebrew database, click on OK. Now we get to the exercise creation tabs. First you type in a description for your exercise that you want to give. Let's have this be a very simple vocab exercise. Vocab exercise for a Hebrew 2 course covering the words of the first week. So you basically put in a nice description for the exercise so that your students know what this exercise is about. You have all the HTML, basic HTML formatting options available here with headings and other types of formattings, styles. You can even insert videos, you can have tables and so on. Then you choose the passage that you want to draw your words from. Imagine this is an exercise that is based on Genesis chapter 12. I know some of my colleagues work with Genesis 12 as a chapter for the Hebrew 1 and Hebrew 2 courses. So let's choose chapter 12. Now, since we have chosen chapter 12, it means that all the vocab that is being presented to our students will come only out of chapter 12 of the book of Genesis. You could also select single verses if you wanted. You could also select several chapters. For example, here chapter 12 verses 1 till 15. But let's say we also want to have chapter 20 and the first 2 verses. So you can pick and choose what you want. Then you can define how much information, how much text, how much context you want to show in that exercise. That's particularly helpful if you have morphology exercises where it's unclear, for example in Hebrew, whether it's a second or third person. You need some context to identify what it is. So we can choose here some context. Let's have 5 sentences shown and before the word appears, and a sentence that follows after the word appears. You can also set a way how you want to show your questions. Are they to be shown in a random order, or are they supposed to be in a fixed order? So in the case of our selection, chapter 12, 1 till 15, and chapter 21 till 2, if I were to select random, as I'm having right now, it means the words will be drawn in a random order out of the pool of the verses that I've selected. It could be Genesis 12 verse 7, and the next one is Genesis 20 verse 1, and the next one is Genesis 20 verse 2, and the next one is Genesis 12 verse 9, and so on. If I choose to have it in fixed order, it means that it will actually now go verse by verse in the order you have selected. Chapter 12 verse 1, and then words of chapter 12 verse 2, and then verse 3, and then verse 4, and so on. You can also choose to show a locate button, which the students can operate and see where the actual word is coming from. So it will tell them this is a word coming from Genesis 12 verse 5, and this is a word coming from Genesis 20 verse 2. Obviously in exam situation, you don't want to select the show locate button, as you want to test students on their language skills and not on their Bible memory skills. So this is the second tab that you have to work with, passages. Then you go to sentences. Here you define what data you want to pull out of the database to be presented to your students. In this case, it's a simple vocab exercise, so we want to select words. You see, we could also select phrases and clauses. We could create syntax exercises, but in this case, it's a simple vocab exercise, so we just want to select words. Now, you see all the features that come with the word. We could have occurrences, specific occurrences, frequency ranks. We can also define, let's say, what type of stems and tenses and persons and gender we want to select. In our case, let's choose words that are coming from a particular occurrence. Namely, we want to have all the frequent words that are as frequent as 2,000 times in the Hebrew Bible, and we want to, since this is a Hebrew 2 course, let's say the beginning of a Hebrew 2 course, we have as a low value 200. That means we don't show words that appear less frequently than 200. So then we go to the feature. Under feature, you define what information you actually want to show to your students. So obviously, I guess you want to show the text. Then you want to show, since this is a simple vocab exercise, you want to choose the lexeme, that is the dictionary entry form, the undeflected form. And then you see in the second column, request. Here is the data you select that you want to request your students to fill in. So since this is a vocab exercise, you probably want them to fill in the English gloss. So now we have defined what we show to the student, and we have defined what we request from the student, namely the English gloss. Now we click on Save. We give this a name. Let's give this the name Test 001 and vocab. Now we click on Save. The exercise has been created. It's always good to test your exercise that you have created before you make it available to your students. So let's do that. Our exercise was created in the folder Andrews University, and there in the Hebrew 2 folder. And now when we scroll to the bottom of the page, we should see here our Test 001 vocab. So let's click here on the hyperlink. 10 means 10 slides will be shown. And let's see what we got here. Yeah, you see that we have the text shown. This is how it shows in the text. It's obviously Genesis 12 verse 1, I assume. You see I have not chosen the locate button. So students cannot locate where this verse is coming from. You see the text because that's what we said we want to show, and we said we want to show the lexeme, that is the dictionary entry form, and we wanted to request English. So in this case, this would be walk, right? Check answer. And this is good. So let's say we want to adapt this exercise a bit, want to change it. We want to add, for example, the locate button for our students. So we go back here to our file management, to the exercise folder in which we have created the exercise. We can now edit the exercise, and we now say under passage that we want to allow our students to locate where the word actually appears. And let's also say we don't want to show the text, don't show. So we only want to show the dictionary entry form and the English gloss that is to be requested. So you see here at this moment we have text and lexeme that is shown, and we don't have the locate button. So now let's save our changes. Save. Yes, we want to replace this. Okay, now we reload our exercise, and we should see our changes being implemented. You see we now have the locate button. This verse, these words are coming from Genesis 12 verse 1. Then we have the lexeme, no longer the text being shown. Lexeme is halach, and English is walk. So what you also see is that not all words are going to be asked from the student. So obviously, lecha is a word that is being asked. Lechlicher. Then min and eretz. You see here the next word is av. So here there's a placeholder for the word av. And then we have the word ra'a in verse, the placeholder 3. Here we would have the word ra'a. Why is the word eretz not shown? Why is the word bayit not shown? Why is the word eretz not shown? Well, that has to do with the fact that we did limit the frequency rank. We said we only want to show words. Let's go here back to our exercise. We said we only want to show words that appear less frequent than 2,000 times. Let's go here to our sentence and occurrence. Here we have said we don't want to show words that are appearing more frequently than 2,000, and we don't want to show words that appear less frequent than 200. Therefore, words that, for example, eretz, which are, as you can see, appearing more than 2,000 times, actually 2,504 times, will not be presented to the student. Other words that appear less frequently, let's say here, moledet. Moledet is a word that appears only 22 times in the Hebrew Bible, is also not being shown because we have defined that the lower limit of our occurrence is 200. We could change that, of course. Let's do that. Let's say we allow for a much higher frequency rank. Let's say 10,000. Now we should see words like eretz and bayit being presented to the student as well. Save. Yes. Let's reload our exercise. And now you see that there are many more words that are going to be presented. For example, amar. Amar, well, is a word that appears 5,307 times. Therefore, all of a sudden it appears here as well. Say. Check answer. Next one is Adonai. Check out. I guess you write this with. Check answer. El, towards. Next is halach. You see many more words are now being requested from the student. Well, this is a simple vocab exercise. Let's create another example for Greek morphology exercise. Let's move into, let's say, a Greek folder, Greek 1, and let's create an exercise there. So we go to the bottom of the page, we click on create exercise. Obviously now we are going to choose the Greek database, Greek. Okay. And let's do this simple present tense vocab morphology exercise. Again, please make use of all the HTML editor editing features to make the exercise description look as pleasant as possible. Then you choose your passage. Let's say you are you're working with, John. John is a good book to start with. Let's say we want to pick John chapter 1, John chapter 2, and John chapter 3. Let's allow for the location of our question items. Let's do a random order this time, and let's now pick our verbal morphology. So in this case, again, we are not asking for syntax questions, so we keep on the word level. As part of speech, we want to select only words that are verbs. Then we want to define the tense. We said we only want to have the present tense. Let's keep it also in the indicative. So we choose as a mood the indicative present tense. And you could now also select actually the verb type. Perhaps you want to exclude the me verbs. So you can now say verb type is not a me verb and it's not an irregular verb. And you can further specify here the verbal stems. Okay, once we have done that, we go to the feature. Let's say we want to show them the text, and we want to ask from them what, well, tense and mood does not have to be asked. Voice either, well, voice yes, it could be passive, person, gender, number. Let's keep this as simple as possible. Well, perhaps also we want to ask from them the English gloss, and let's also show them the lemma. That is the dictionary entry form, to be a very simple, for it to become a very simple morphological exercise. So let's save it now, and let's call this also 001 test morphology. It's handy to actually give the file name, the exercise file name, a name that allows you to identify just in the file name itself what this exercise is about. So we could say present morphology, present indicative. Save. Now we can go and test our exercise. Let's go to the folder in which we have placed it. That was, I think, a Greek 1 in the Greek 1 folder. And here we have it. 0001 test morphology present indicative. Let's click here on the exercise link, and here we go. So leges is in the text. The lexeme, the way how it would appear in the dictionary, would be lego. So obviously this is active. Obviously this is a second person. Well, we don't have gender information, not applicable in Greek, and it's singular, and it means to speak or to say, right? So check answer. We are good. Next. Eremenoio, eremenoietai, right? So, which is translated Peter. So this is not active, but this would be a passive, and then it's a third person, not applicable, number singular, and I guess this is interpret or translate. Interpret. Let's say interpret. I think this, I might have written it wrong, but anyway, check answer. Yeah, we have written it wrong. So interpret. So without the E. Sorry for my limited English capabilities. It also was a middle or passive, because eremenoio can be used both in middle and passive. Okay, good. So this is how you create exercises. As a final word, both Cedric and I, Cedric, responsible for the Greek courses, and I'm here for the Old Testament, responsible for Old Testament, Hebrew and Aramaic courses. We have created actually exercises that cover all typical types of exercise material that is being used in Hebrew or Greek courses. So you don't need to create exercises by yourself anymore. They are all available already, and you can just copy paste them from our folders into your own class folders and work from there. We are going to work both on creating an infrastructure that shows you all available exercises in an overview with exercise descriptions, so that you can pretty much pick and choose and make your selection available to your students.